Welcome, Allie Blake.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in there, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
You go to New Orleans, get up from there. You ought to go see the Mardi Gras. If you go to New Orleans, you ought to go see the Mardi Gras. Come on, get your hands together, everybody. And if you see the Mardi Gras, somebody gonna tell you what it's carnival for. With your ticket in your hand, you ought to go to New Orleans. With your ticket in your hand, you ought to go to New Orleans. And if you get to New Orleans, somebody show you the Zulu King.
Welcome to Unrigged Live. I'm Jennifer Lawrence. I'll be your MC for the night. I'm on the board of directors of RepresentUs, and I'm so excited to be here with you at this amazing event. Now, I have a hunch that we're all here because we believe that our democracy could use some work, because we all believe that our government that we pay for with our taxes should work for us. So many of us have come from so many places from across the country, from across the political spectrum, to be here tonight. We may all have different reasons for being here, and I guess I'll tell you mine, because we're here. I was born the first girl in my family in 50 years. I was a goddamn miracle. To two of the kindest, most genuine brothers any girl could ever hope for, except for a few tiny flecks and moments of pure evil. Growing up, we fought about everything except that Mom was annoying. We were very different then, and even today, our political and spiritual beliefs are completely different. But we never stopped loving each other or rooting for each other. We respect each other, and we know that as a united front, there is nothing that we cannot conquer, even Mom at Christmas, or especially at a wedding. So let my family be an example that we do not have to pick sides. We are experiencing the same thing in this country right now, and it's time to come together. Across ideologies, across parties, it's time to unite to fix our democracy. Because regardless of where our politics fall, at the grassroots, the American people don't deserve to pay taxes to a system that is rigged against them. Fuck that. I am so proud to be on the stage tonight, and I'm humbled to be fighting alongside you. Thank you. We have an amazing lineup for you tonight. The first ever Courage Awards for fearless people who put it on the line to unrig the system. Our first speaker is the co-founder and director of RepresentUs. Please welcome Josh Silver.
I want to answer a question tonight, which is kind of obvious, which is why? Why are we here? I think Larry Lessig put it really well. Nobody really wants to have to save democracy. But the reality is that we're here because we're experiencing system failure. You know that more than most people. It's beyond just the kindergarten factor that we see in politics every day, which is completely mind-numbing. But when you look under the hood at the problem with our democracy, it really becomes more scary. The Economist magazine, which every year looks at the world's democracies, and a year ago downgraded the United States for the first time ever from a full democracy to a partial democracy. Only 19 nations remain. And more recently, a couple of weeks ago, from the Freedom in the World Index that shows that in the past year, US democracy had the sharpest decline in 40 years. So we're here to fix this, right? We're here to find winning solutions and to win them, recognizing that it's been 44 years since there's been major sweeping reform to the rigged system. Now, there's been important victories, McKay and Feingold, many other victories that people in this room have led. So let's have a round of applause for the people in this room who have done that. Thank you. But sadly, too often it's one step forward, two steps back, and the reality, if we're being honest with ourselves, it is not enough. What we have done in the last 40 years is not enough, and we are tired of fighting for scraps. We need solutions, so we are here to find them. We are here to question our assumptions. We're here to innovate. We're here to change the play. We are here to do better. I want to suggest 3 ways, and not a complete list, had to put that in, that we can be better. Number 1, we need to build a bigger tent. A bigger tent. Thank you. Now, this is a math issue, people. When Gallup asks the American people, how do you self-identify? Over the last 24 years, none of these numbers have moved more than 6 points. 25% liberal, 34% moderate, 36% conservative. None of those blocks are going to win and beat the massive opposition we face alone. The good news is this truly is not a partisan issue. This does not break down left-right. This issue, more than any other, breaks down the people in power against the people without power. And the reality that often is not said, I've been advocating to unrig the system in many red states with Republicans in power fighting me viciously against efforts to reform the system while Democrats cheer me on. And I've been in many blue states where the Democrats are in power. They often do it more quietly, but often oppose efforts to fix the rigged system just as aggressively while the Republicans cheer me on. It's reality because those in power want to keep the system the way it is, so they keep in power. So in reality, this issue is truly post-partisan because it's post-partisan. It's not bipartisan. Because this duopoly is not working. It's gridlocked, it's entrenched, it kills all the issues we care about. It breaks the promise of our democracy. Duopoly doesn't work in commerce, and it doesn't work in politics. So, the reality is when you look at the American people, how they're registered to vote, this is stunning. 46% of American voters are independents. Look at that chart. 46%, almost 50%. Just 27% are Democrats, 25% are Republicans, and majorities of the members of the parties aren't even currently happy with the party. So when we build this bigger tent, we need to embrace this idea that the people who disagree with us politically, they love their children just like we do. They love their communities. They love their country. They have the same or similar fears about their future. So what we need to do, and Martin Luther King has been quoted, thankfully, many times this weekend, we need to really, as a movement, embrace his words. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. I'm going to read it. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. We need to hold this as a movement. We need to be bigger than the partisanship and the vitriol and the hate. We need to love. Number 2, solutions. You notice the S on the end. Let this weekend be the end of this reform will fix everything. Not happening. No. When you look at this, you see that indeed ethics and accountability, money in politics, fair districts, voting in elections, technical innovations, all of these are needed. Complex solutions to, a complex problem. And that's what this group is doing. And the good news, these are popular. Most of them are polling at over 80% with conservatives, moderates, and progressives. They're common sense. They can be passed all across the United States. They can be done through a variety of methods, through ballot initiatives, through lobbying, through legal fights, through innovation. They can be done through the courts, counties, in legislatures, cities, and eventually in Congress. That's exciting. And then number 3, powerful movement. We have to remember our history. We have to remember the suffragettes. Do you think that woman was in her comfort zone when she was fighting for her right to vote? How about the people fighting against segregated schools? These people put it on the line. The civil rights movement, the gay rights movement. We have to not just match their fearlessness, we have to match their smarts. The gay rights movement has been incredible in their strategy and the way they figured out, okay, you guys are gonna go over here and do this. We're communicating. The philanthropy was incredibly sophisticated. We have to learn. And then look at ourselves. Less than 2 years ago, 1,300 of us got arrested on the US Capitol for democracy. We are a movement on the rise. And what's really special about today, bringing it back to Unrigged, it was so powerful for me this morning to pop my head into a room of about 25 of the most fearless and important leaders working around the country on this really wonky issue called gerrymandering reform. Thank you. Gerrymandering people are always insane. And so many of these people, these are people who are going to win major victories this year in several states around the country. That's exciting. That's exciting. And most of these people had never met each other. That sucks. But they met each other today. And those kinds of side meetings happened all around this campus today. And that is awesome. And that's what a movement is made out of. So these are the 3 ways that we can do better, because do better we must. This is not okay. Child poverty among the worst in the developed world. It is not good enough to have healthcare that is ranked the most expensive in the world. It is not good enough to see US life expectancy lowering in comparison to other countries, to see a prison population higher per capita than Russia and China. It's not good enough to see a country where the government is so polarized and gridlocked, they can't pass common sense government efficiencies to stop government waste, schools that are declining in comparison to the rest of the world, an inability to pass forceful policy to stop climate change, which is going to make our planet inhospitable for humans in just a few hundred years. This doesn't happen in a great nation. In a great nation, leaders do the right thing. They act responsibly, they act rationally. We, the people, prosper. We innovate, we lead, we inspire the rest of the world. We're proud. So why are we here in New Orleans this weekend at Unrig? We are here to be strategic. We're here to catalyze solutions. We're here to build that bigger tent. We're here to build critical mass. We're here to foster real collaboration, real trust, real compassion, real kindness to our fellow human beings. We are here to become unstoppable together. Thank you.
Building a powerful political movement requires people whose courage inspires us and push us to the next level in pursuit of the greater good. The Unrigged Courage Awards are presented in recognition of extraordinarily brave efforts to unrig politics. Tonight, we honor 4 of those people. Our first Courage Award goes to a remarkable mother and daughter, Angela and Tessa Yarborough.
Angela Yarborough and her daughter Tess walked over 140 miles in 10 days to protest the corrupting influence of money in politics. They, along with hundreds of others, had vowed to sit on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, risking arrest in order to get their message out. Tess was the only minor arrested that day. Separated from the others, she spent 12 hours in a holding cell before her release at 3 a.m. to her very worried mother. Angela said that she and Tess knew the consequences, and there was never a question that they would follow through to send an important message to the country.
Please welcome Angela and Tessa Yarborough.
Thank you to everyone at RepresentUs for this award and for working to make true democracy a reality in America. And thank you to everyone who marched and sat in with us in April 2016 for your companionship, your dedication, and your courage. And thank you to my partner in crime for being so awesome and for letting me do illegal things.
You know, we didn't actually plan on Tessa getting arrested, but after we'd walked and she'd walked all those miles alongside such committed people, she said, "Mom, I can't stop here. I want to sit in." And I resisted, but she was so persistent and articulate, and in the end, I couldn't stand between her and what she so strongly believed she needed to do. But in our minds, we're here representing the more than 100 others who marched with us, and the hundreds who were arrested at the Capitol with us, and the thousands of people who, like you, are every day stepping out of their comfort zones and into this fight for democracy.
And we could say from experience, if you keep doing what you believe you need to do, if you're persistent and don't take no for an answer, nothing will stand in your way.
Hi, you may not recognize me, but I'm Kerry Washington. Do you like my hair? As you can see, I'm stuck in production, which is why I can't be with you. I'm over here focusing on corruption in the pretend Washington, D.C., but you guys are where I want to be, focusing on ending corruption in the real Washington, D.C. Thank you for being there. I'm so excited that Unrigging the System is catching on all across the country and across political lines. This is a moment where we have to come together across ideologies to say we're going to fix the system and put the power back in the hands of the people. So thank you for being there. I'm not with you in body, but I am with you in spirit. I'm sending so much love. Have a great time. Unrig the system. Get it done. Make it happen. I'll see you out there in the world fighting this fight. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Glaser.
keep clapping. Oh my gosh. It was like you guys chose to do that on your own. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. I am a comedian, so just get ready for that. I might say some inappropriate things. We're all cool with it. Okay. We're more than cool. I usually, I don't like to talk about politics in my act because I'm stupid, and I just feel like I don't know things. And whenever I post something on Instagram about Trump, I always get some troll being like, "Shut up, you thin-lip bitch." I'm like, oh God. It really hurts because I don't have lips. And up here. But you know, I'm not gonna go into, hey. No, but I don't know things, and I get nervous when people talk about politics around me. I just kind of clam up, you know? If someone mentioned Syria, I was like, oh, I heard they merged with XM and that's been good for them or whatever. And it's like, I finally learned what a super PAC was. I just thought it was like a big pack of gum sold at Costco, but apparently it's something way worse. Here's the thing, is this is what's kind of cool about why we're all here. I love something that has a solution. There's a clear solution in place that I don't really know the details of, but there's a way to remedy this, right? That's not the case with so much stuff. Most things you're just we're kind of screwed, you know? And there's no, global warming, it's over, you know? It's nice try. Remember when Al Gore tried to warn us and was like, well, you have 15 years before it's all, and it's just we were like, whatever, Al, you invented the internet too, shut up, and now everything's ruined. But no, this is this has a good outcome, and it's not a partisan issue. I learned that word this week, and that was cool. That's good. Both sides of the fence can agree on this. The fence, not the wall, that hasn't been built yet, but I feel like even the other side of the wall, Mexico, they would agree that government corruption sucks. I hear they have it there. I watch Narcos, so I've heard they'd be on board with this. Yeah, I did I did some research to get ready for tonight because, like I said, I'm a real dumb. The only thing I know about government is the reason we're here, which is that it doesn't work for us. That's literally all I know. So that was kind of nice to get into. But I did some research of how a bill becomes a law. So I watched the Schoolhouse Rock video. Yes, we all love it. I don't know if you've seen the updated version, but they just recently updated it. So instead of just being a bill that sits on Capitol Hill, he's now really tan and skiing in Aspen on a trip paid for by Monsanto. I don't know if you've seen it. That's a cool, check it out. Oh God. Okay, yeah. I feel really good about this. My best friend Jennifer is gonna be so happy. We're sisters. We are sisters. Is that weird? I'm her. Maybe not. That's a little far. I can do an impression of her. She doesn't even know I can do this. I'm Jennifer Lawrence. That's my impression, that's it. I can only say her saying her name. I can do a Jennifer Aniston impression that usually brings down the fucking house. Here we go. Oh, that's it. That's all it is. Oh my God, guys, stop it. What? No. That's it. That's all it is. Thank you. I think my time's almost up, but I did want to get to something. Okay, so here's my point, is it's really cool that we can, this isn't just a problem that we're it's a problem, what do we do? There's a solution to it. And like I said, so often there's no solutions. There's no solution to, I'm really frustrated lately with aging. You can't stop it, you know? It's really, I just moved out of LA to New York where people are uglier just to feel a little bit better about myself because I'm 33 and it's not looking great. And it got to me in my last months in LA. Can I just be honest with you guys? I got Botox and all my friends were like, don't do it, no. And I'm like, you're gonna need it if you keep making that face. Just a warning, that's how I needed it. I really recommend Botox for those of you in the room that might, like, if you're really a nice person, I feel like I'm always so empathetic. I'm like, I'm sorry. And now I can't be that way because my forehead's frozen. It's kind of fun. I'm like, have a resting bitch face that I've never had. And so it's good. Like, I went to a funeral recently and I was like, I'm sorry your dad died. And I was sorry, but it just gave off the impression that, like, maybe I killed him. It was kind of cool. It was just like, I'm very sorry for his loss. So, yeah, Botox, okay, I haven't really admitted this to, like, everyone, but because of those trolls that say, shut up, you thin-lipped bitch, I got, the one's here tonight, one just clapped, like, you should have read my comment. I did, sir. And I spent $800 to get it fixed. I got my lips done, which I really regret doing. It was just because I've never had a lip, and I was like, I want to try one, you know, for once in my life. By the way, they're already gone. Don't look for them. They're not, there's nowhere to be found. They disappeared. My body metabolized them already. It sucks. It's the most expensive, disappointing meal of my life. Here's the thing about getting your lips done. Okay, so I went in to go do it because I'm scared of aging, and the woman was like, okay, she walked in with a syringe. She looked insane. I had prepaid or I would have left, but she looked so scary. Okay, you know how they say, never trust a skinny chef? Well, never trust a plastic surgeon who looks like a shiny cat. Like, that's also some sage advice. Because this woman was either 24 or 79. Like, she was, you know how, like, board games have, like, ages 2 to 99? It's like, she was a board game range of age. And she was like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, don't worry. Listen, I know you're worried. I know subtlety. And I was like, you don't know mirrors then, because look at you, you shiny sphinx. She was like, duh. And so, but she put me at ease because she showed me a book of, like, before and afters. And she was like, pick out which lips you want. And I was like, those, you know. And she was like, that's a vagina. And I was like, I know, that's exactly what I want. That's the look I'm going for. I feel like God fucked up on me. Like, I feel like I got switched. Like, I feel like an IKEA desk that he hastily put together, you know what I mean? Where he's like, that's fine. And it kind of wobbles, but he's like, I'm not taking it apart to put it back together or whatever. Okay, I really have to go. I've been told I look younger without makeup. Sometimes guys say that. One guy was like, you look 24 without makeup. And I was complimented, and then I realized he just meant I looked like Kiefer Sutherland when he's stressed out. So, all right, thank you guys very much. Good night.
Please welcome Ron Garan.
I want to tell you a story about a monumental event that happened nearly 50 years ago. An event that fundamentally changed the way we see ourselves. An event that, although it forever changed the course of human history, it's an event that, for the most part, has been forgotten. The story starts on a winter morning of December 21st, 1968, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Atop the tallest, the heaviest, the most powerful rocket ever brought to operational status, the Saturn V, sat the crew of Apollo 8. Commander Frank Borman, Command Module Pilot Jim Lovell, and Lunar Module Pilot Bill Anders. The goal of the mission is to become the first crewed spacecraft to travel to the moon, enter into orbit around the moon, and of course, return safely to Earth. 3 days later, on December 24th, Christmas Eve 1968, as the crew of Apollo 8 came up from behind the dark side of the moon on their 4th orbit, they experienced something never seen before by human eyes.
Oh my God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, that's pretty. Hey, don't take that, it's not scheduled. You got a color film, Jim? Hand me a roll of color quick. Oh man, that's great. Where is it? Quick.
As the crew saw the Earth coming up from behind the lunar horizon, I wonder if they realized the significance of that moment. They had just become the first humans in history to see the whole planet hanging in the blackness of space, and the first to capture that for the rest of us. This image, known as Earthrise, is probably the most influential photograph ever taken, with its simple message that we are one people traveling on one planet towards one common future. This revolutionized how we see our world, how we see ourselves. 4 decades later, I also was able to see our planet from the vantage point of space. This was an incredibly moving visual experience, but it was much, much more than just a visual experience. What I experienced in space was a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunity to see the planet from that perspective, and gratitude for the planet that we've been given. And in some way, I can't really fully explain. Being physically detached from the Earth made me feel deeply interconnected with everyone on it. And as I would gaze back at this beautiful scene, I would think about what the next 50 years are going to look like. How far would we progress in overcoming the challenges and problems facing our planet? Now, I launched into space with the belief that right now we already have all the resources, all the technology necessary to solve many, if not all, the problems facing our planet. 15 nations built the International Space Station. Some of these nations weren't always the best of friends. Some were on opposite sides of the Cold War, opposite sides of the space race. Some fought wars against each other. But somehow, they were able to set aside their differences and do this amazing thing in space. And as I hovered up there above the space station, I wondered, what would the world look like if we could overcome our political and our cultural barriers to collaboration and bring that same level of cooperation down to the Earth's surface? Now, I was born in the year that Yuri Gagarin became the first human to fly in space. 50 years later, almost to the day, from the very same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin launched from, I launched into space as a fully integrated member of a Russian spacecraft crew with a couple of Russian military officers. And as we stood at the base of this rocket that would take us to space on a cold April evening from a previous top-secret Soviet military installation, I looked up at the rocket and I saw an American flag and a Russian flag side by side. That image was burned into me. For the first 15 years of my adult life, I trained to fight the Russians, our nation's most menacing enemy at the time. I was a Cold War fighter pilot stationed at the tip of the sword in former West Germany before the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I fought in combat in another part of the world where I saw firsthand the horrors of war. Back then, I was operating in a two-dimensional us versus them world. Unfortunately, this is still the primary operating system of our planet. This is the image of our world that our civilization is presently based on. A two-dimensional landscape of nation states fighting and competing over resources and ideologies. A landscape where not only nations compete, but corporations, NGOs, special interest groups, political parties. This is no longer the appropriate guidepost for our actions. This, and neither is this, this gerrymandered map, or this, or this. This is the appropriate guidepost for our actions. This is reality. The problem is, our political decisions are currently based on the two-dimensional map. So in order for humanity to progress and to prosper, we need to deal with the very real problems that we face in the context of the real world. We need to build a future based on the image of Earthrise. The image of Earthrise has 3 key pillars: interdependence, long-term thinking, and profound collaboration, all wrapped in the blanket of empathy and compassion. We can no longer have a two-dimensional map as our model. Humanity is at a critical point, a point like never before in history. We're at a critical fork in the road. Before us are 2 paths. One is to continue down the two-dimensional us versus them path that we're presently on, to continue living under the lie that special interest groups, political parties can pursue their own self-interest independent of our country and the world, to continue down the path of increased nationalism, tribalism, parochialism, all which will lead to despair and destruction. The other path is founded on the principles of Earthrise, which will lead to a visionary, restorative future, a future where 10 billion humans can live within our planetary limits in peace and prosperity, a future we would all want to be a part of. I'm here representing a coalition of international astronauts that are coming together to promote the values of Earthrise. We have proven that by working together, we can accomplish anything. By all of you being here, you've already stepped up to be agents of change. You already embody this new system. So let's come together and build a future that we'd all want to be a part of. And so, to bring this home, I want to share with you another story. I want to share with you the story of my return to Earth after my 6-month mission in space. When it was time to return, my 2 Russian crewmates and I got into our Soyuz spacecraft, we undocked, we did a couple of laps around our planet, and as we crossed the south tip of South America, we fired our engines to enter into the atmosphere. We had this fiery, violent ride through the atmosphere at 5 miles a second. The parachutes opened, they threw us all over the place. Eventually, we smashed into the ground. We bounced, we rolled, we flipped over. And now my window is pointed at the ground. And out of my window, I saw a rock, a flower, and a blade of grass. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm home. And what was really interesting about that thought was I was home, but I was in Kazakhstan. So to me, at that moment, my home wasn't just Houston, Texas, where at the time I lived with my family. My home was Earth. And our definition of that word home has profound implications for how we problem solve, how we treat our planet, how we treat each other. And broadening our definition of the word home does not come with it a requirement to abandon where we came from, our political or cultural affinities. It simply means putting all those things, looking at those things in the context of the bigger picture. So, as a fellow crewmate on Spaceship Earth, I want to thank all of you for what you're doing and what you will do to help make life on our planet as beautiful as our planet looks from space. And by working together, we do not have to accept the status quo, the political status quo in our country. So together, let's nudge the trajectory of our country and our world to a more beautiful future for all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm McKay here in Los Angeles, and I apologize that I'm not there. I don't know what to say. It's the finals for my karate tournament. I got to fight a guy hand-to-hand in an abandoned basement in City of Industry. I will be victorious, so don't worry about me. But priorities. But I want to thank everyone for showing up down there in New Orleans for the Unrigged the System Summit. Bottom line is, I think we're all sick of this. Big money has choked our democracy. We're in a situation where the people's will is not being heard. And what we really need to do is get every voter out there making a choice that their #1 issue they're voting for, whether they're right wing, left wing, is get dirty money out of politics. And I hope this weekend's festivities are leading an energetic groundswell of support for that idea. I thank everyone that's there. You guys rule, and I wish so badly I was there.
Please welcome to the stage Desmond Meade.
In 2005, I found myself standing in front of railroad tracks. It was one of those hot and humid days in South Florida. And as I stood there, I was a broken man. And for moments, I was able to block out that oppressive heat and humidity. Because as I was standing there, the only thing that I can think of was how much pain I was going to feel when I jumped in front of the oncoming train. You see, that day I stood there, I was a drug addict. I was homeless. I was recently released from prison. I didn't own anything but the clothes on my back. And I was thinking, when that train hit me, was I going to die instantly, or did I have to go through moments of agonizing pain? But the train didn't come that day for some reason. I say, but by the grace of God. And I crossed those tracks and I walked 2 blocks and I checked myself into drug treatment. And after completing drug treatment, I moved into a homeless shelter. And while I was living at that homeless shelter, I decided that I needed to do something to break that vicious cycle of drug addiction. And so I enrolled in college in the paralegal program, and I did extremely well. And I was encouraged to continue my education, so I pursued a bachelor's in public safety management with a concentration in criminal justice. And eventually I was accepted into law school, and in May of 2014, I graduated from FIU College of Law with a Juris Doctorate degree. And while the applause sounds so beautiful, and I may have to reclaim a couple minutes of my time, my story does not have a happy ending because I live in the state of Florida, and because of that, I still cannot vote. I cannot practice law. And I can't even afford to buy a home in some places because I'm restricted until my civil rights have been restored. Because I live in the state of Florida, where over 1.68 million Floridians face a lifetime ban. They say felons. You've probably said felons. We use the word returning citizens because we know that individuals who've made mistakes are still somebody's son and daughter and father and mother, that they're human beings first. And so now here we are, 1.68 million returning citizens living in the state of Florida, where we have elected officials, where we have a system that refuses to restore our civil rights back to us when we've served our time. And at some point in 2011, we said enough was enough. Of the 1.68 million people in Florida who cannot vote, African Americans only account for a third. So that means that there are 3 times as many people in the state of Florida who cannot vote that don't look like me. They look like most of you out in this audience today. And so I know that rather than it being an African American issue, it's an all-American issue. The other thing that I found out while traveling the state of Florida was that they would say, you would hear the narrative, oh, Republicans don't want felons to get the right to vote because they know they'll vote Democrat. But the problem that I had with that was that means that only Democrats get in trouble. And I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute. When I was arrested, the police didn't ask me if I was Democrat or Republican. And I understood that there was a system that needed to be unrigged. I understood that there was a system that created these narratives in order to divide us and to move us further apart from each other. I understood that there was a system that was designed to make us lose our contact along the lines of humanity. And when we stood up and when we created an all-inclusive campaign that was all-American, that chose to pick people over politics, that chose to transcend racial and political lines, we discovered something that was beautiful. We discovered the essence of what made this country beautiful. As of last week, we have qualified the Voting Restoration Amendment for the 2018 ballot. And so when a system tells us that we have to run a campaign based on fear, we say no, we run it based on love. When the system says we have to run a campaign based on division, we say no, ours is based on inclusion. Because if this country is to be great, then all of us must be in this thing together. And so I ask you all tonight that if you believe in creating a more inclusive democracy, would you stand to your feet? If you believe that there should be justice and liberty for all, stand to your feet. If you believe that no matter what your sexual identity is, that you should be treated with dignity, stand to your feet. If you believe that there's no such thing as being illegal, that there are no illegal human beings, stand to your feet. If you believe in forgiveness, stand to your feet. And I want you all to, before you sit down, I want you all to just say it with me. And when we get to those last 6 words, when you get to these last 6 words, I need it to come from here. Because we must unrig this system in order for those 6 words to be true. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In 2012, Nneka Campbell lost her 10-month-old daughter, Amelia, during heart surgery at St. Mary's Hospital in Florida. Amelia was one of an unusually high number of infant deaths at St. Mary's that occurred while the hospital was making 6-figure contributions to Florida politicians, who in turn eliminated regulatory oversight of the infant surgery program. Nneka was one of a handful of parents who bravely shared their personal stories, speaking out against the hospital and the brazen corruption, ultimately leading to the end of the hospital's infant surgery program. Nneka shared her story to save others from the heartbreak that she suffered.
When I started down this path, I never imagined that I'd be standing here receiving an award for being a mother who felt compelled to speak up. But here I am, and I thank God for giving me strength throughout this entire ordeal to talk about what happened to Amelia at a time when my heart was filled with nothing but pain. I'm thankful for the courage of those who came alongside me, stood with me, and supported me in the fight to prevent more harm to more families and more babies. I am thankful for the moral fortitude of journalists and other members of the media who provided a platform for me to give voice to this tragedy. Lastly, I thank everyone hearing the sound of my voice for listening. I believe it will take all of us working together collectively to ensure that this preventable suffering never occurs again.
Search the debris, but you Ooh, babe, so what you gonna do now? Don't wait until you die, 'cause you can always change your mind and make it right. So why are you still waiting outside? Maybe your mama didn't treat you right. Maybe you just didn't sleep last night. You know I don't give a damn why you wanna fight. Ooh, babe, so what you gonna do now? Don't wait until you die, 'cause you can always change your mind and make it right. So why are you still waiting outside? So come out from the weeds and into my arms. Ooh, babe, I know the dark and how it can harm you. Yeah, now that my conscience ripped me apart too. So here's what we're gonna do now. Take all of your needs and all of your sins, all of the losses you threw to the wind, and we'll carry the weight if it breaks every limb. Oh, and that's what we're gonna do now. Don't wait until you die, 'cause you can always change your mind and make it right. So why are you still waiting outside? You're still waiting outside. You're still waiting outside. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, HoneyHoney. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Painter.
Good evening. You know, money these days in politics, I saw a graph that was presented this afternoon about the amount of dollars and $1 billion in the last presidential election, and I was gonna raise my hand and say, that's the dollars. Now, where are the rubles? And the rest of it. Because what we are talking about tonight is an issue that's critically important to the survival of our country as an independent country. We were once a colony. We were divided up into spheres of influence by the British and the French and the Spaniards. Every European power wanted to have influence over what happened here. And then we joined with other powers to do the same around the world. That's what colonialism was about. Well, the founders of this country, though, in the Tea Party, I'm talking about the real Tea Party, not these phonies who run around trying to justify the Citizens United case, but the real Tea Party. When they saw that a multinational corporation, the East India Company, was bringing its tea into Boston Harbor, the East India Company had already corrupted most of the members of Parliament, who were Edmund Burke gave great speeches on the floor of the House of Commons about the corruption of the East India Company. The American people didn't want it here. That's why the tea went into Boston Harbor. It was taxation without representation. And that's exactly what we have today. We pay the taxes. We pay the taxes. And a very, very small group of people gets to decide what's done with the money, how our government works, how we are regulated, who is not regulated, the Koch brothers. And this oligarchy that controls our government is no longer just Americans, but it is global, because capitalism is global. This is what globalization is all about, and President Donald Trump can rant and rave about globalization as he's going to visit his properties all over the world and doing the sword dance in Saudi Arabia and the rest of it. But globalization is here, and corporate wealth is global. And then they say it is illegal to have foreign campaign money in the United States election. It is illegal for foreign national to contribute anything to an American campaign. It is illegal for a foreign corporation to do that or for a foreign government to do that. Well, right. It's also illegal to drink under the age of 21. And I wrote in my book on campaign finance reform that was published in January of 2016 about all of the ways you could get foreign government money into United States campaigns through corporate acquisitions, through subsidiaries, through joint venture agreements, and all the ways it could be done. I thought I had figured it out, but Vladimir Putin was several steps ahead of me. When I published that book, it was just months before President Trump won the Republican nomination, then Donald Trump, candidate Trump. I never knew about the various tricks that the Russians are up to, but there will come a time when we put this behind us, this disaster, and some people are let off in handcuffs. I think Robert Mueller's working on that. Yeah. But we are not going to be able to overcome this problem if we don't fix money in politics. Because there will always be a country that wants to own a United States president. Other countries are going to look at this situation and say, Russia's not the only country that's going to pull this off. We are going to pull this off, maybe with the Democrats and maybe again with the Republicans. We don't know. And look at the way we responded to it just this past couple of days when we see foreign infiltration of an American election, foreign espionage. We see close associates of the president or hanging around with the Russians, and we're going to have a big fight over the FISA warrant and pointing the fingers at our own intelligence. What we don't understand is that the United States is vulnerable to foreign infiltration of our elections, and we are not going to solve that problem just by getting rid of Donald Trump. We're going to solve that problem by getting rid of Citizens United, having some serious changes in the Supreme Court or in our Constitution. We need to reverse that decision and get the money out of politics, the big money. Second, we need much more disclosure. President Obama suggested that. It would be perfectly constitutional. The Supreme Court would not stamp in the way, and guess what? Congress wouldn't do anything. Why not? Because they're getting too much of this stuff. Yep. And last, we need small dollar donors to have a meaningful role in this system. And that's why I have suggested that Congress ought to enact a law, it could be done by statute, saying that the first $200 of our tax dollars should go to the candidate or the campaign party of our choice. That's taxation with representation. And I urge taxation only with representation. And I have said that I don't think anybody ought to have to pay taxes unless they have that right. Now, I know my more conservative friends just want to say, let's just not pay taxes, but that's not, no. But I should not have to be paying taxes to support a government that's run by the Koch brothers and the Mercer family and Vladimir Putin. It's not going to be happening, not in my country. So thank you very much. Let's continue the fight, and we are going to get money out of politics and make this country the democracy that it really should be and that we all believe in. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yenser.
Give it up for me, the least famous person at this entire event. Thank you. I feel like when they said, please welcome Adam Yenser, it's the first time 1,000 people in New Orleans went, who dat, and weren't talking about the Saints. I am a little bit famous. I'm a writer for the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I've been recognized in public once. This is true. This girl came up to me at a bar, and she goes, oh my gosh, I've seen you on Ellen. Can I get a picture with you? And I said, sure, and I tried to get a selfie of us, but nothing happened. And I said, oh, it says your memory is full. You'll have to delete a picture to make room. And she takes her phone, and she goes, nah. It's the kind of star power that you're dealing with here tonight. I'll let you know, because I work for Ellen, I am a clean comedian. I only do clean material. I only use words you can say on daytime television, like darn and heck and shithole. No, but give it up for Unrig the System. This is a great event. They're putting me up at the Sheridan, which is nice. Usually when I'm on the road for stand-up, I stay at Motel 6. And then some nights I'm in the mood for something a little cleaner and classier, and I'll just sleep in the car. It's nice to have a bipartisan event like that. Like, this country spends way too much time fighting over stupid issues. We get so divided over stupid problems. Like, one of the things they're fighting over right now is transgender bathrooms. Like whether transgender people should have to use the bathroom that matches their biological sex or the bathroom that matches their gender identity. And both sides are upset because they don't want to have to use a public bathroom with someone who makes them uncomfortable. Which makes perfect sense, unless you've ever used a public bathroom. There's always someone who makes you uncomfortable. There's always a stranger who wants to talk while you're peeing, or there's a homeless person using the sink as a shower, or someone makes eye contact through that gap in the stall door. Or there's a kid who's pushing 12 but still pulls his pants all the way down to pee. Using a public bathroom and being comfortable is not a real experience that anyone has. But that's what they're fighting about. Like, transgender women don't want to have to use the men's room, and then some other women don't want those transgender people in their bathroom because they're biologically men. So what it all comes down to is no one wants to use the bathroom with men. Like, as divisive as the issue is, everyone agrees that men and their bodies are disgusting. And it's true, men's bodies are way more disgusting than women's bodies. Just look at the sexy outfits people wear. Sexiest thing a woman can wear is lingerie, which is basically nothing at all. Sexiest thing a man can wear is a 3-piece suit. Just layers and layers of material covering every inch of his horrible body. Then just to be safe, it's tied around his neck to make sure it doesn't fall off. That's why women all love that 50 Shades of Grey fetish, because when they do get a man naked, they're like, oh, you know, be hot now as if you blindfolded me. I do think it's weird that women carry an entire purse with them everywhere they go and all guys have is a wallet. Like, why do women need something 10 times bigger to carry 30% less money? I heard a few oohs, relax, it's a joke. The gender wage gap is a joke. It's been debunked over and over again. Even when I do jokes that are a little divisive or about controversial issues, I try to find a way that, you know, both sides can come together and reach some sort of compromise. Like, I saw a pro-life billboard the other day. It said, babies get hiccups even before they're born, which is true, and I do not support abortion. But I bet a visit to the clinic would scare those hiccups away. Like that one, because a pro-life joke that offends pro-life people just alienates everybody. But I am pro-life. I'm pretty conservative and religious. I know religion's on the decline in this country, but I hear stories all the time that reaffirm my faith in God. Like, I read about this bus driver who got mugged and they shot him, but his life was saved because the bullets were stopped by a Bible in his pocket. And that is a miracle, that God blessed that man with ridiculous Bible-sized pockets. I am a Republican. I know some people don't like Republicans. They call us bigots all the time, which doesn't even make sense anymore. We had one of the most diverse primaries in history. How can they still say Republicans are racist when one of our candidates was African American? And how can they still say Republicans are sexist when one of our candidates was a woman? And how can they still say Republicans hate immigrants when 2 of our candidates were raised by immigrants? Then they were all beat by a racist sexist who hates immigrants. And I have done stand-up for more conservative crowds before. I once did a show in Anchorage, Alaska, which is a beautiful city, but they're like way more conservative than most big cities. Like most big cities have gay neighborhoods. Like out in Los Angeles, we have a West Hollywood. In New York, they have an area called Chelsea. Chicago has Boys Town. San Francisco has San Francisco. But Anchorage isn't like that. Like the gay area of Anchorage is just called Steve's house. And Steve is saving up to move to San Francisco. Before I get out of here, I do want to thank Unrig the System one more time. Give them a big round of applause, everybody. As I mentioned earlier, they put me up at the Sheraton for 2 nights, and they paid to fly me here from Los Angeles just so I could do 8 minutes of comedy, which I think we can all agree is exactly the type of wasteful political spending we need to stop. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Florida mailman Doug Hughes flew a gyrocopter onto the lawn of the U.S. Capitol to protest our broken campaign finance system. He carried 535 letters, one for each member of Congress, demanding that they take action to end the undue influence of money in politics. Doug's freedom flight made headlines in nearly every major news outlet in America. He risked his own life, served 4 months in prison, a year of probation, and he inspired a nation.
I have thought about walking away from this whole thing because it's crazy. I'd rather die in the flight than live to be 80 years old and see this country fall. In 2012, I decided that this message that we must get the money out of politics was worth any risk as long as I did no injury and no property damage. I think this we must all be dedicated to, that this is the issue of our lifetimes. I thank you very much.
Please give it up for Notaro.
Please be seated. Let's not do standing ovations throughout my entire set. I'm not the most politically active person, but I'm trying to get better about that. And what I've been doing is just showing up to any given rally and marching with a sign that just says, yeah, totally. You have to start somewhere. Just gotta ease in. And that concludes my political material for the evening. Do you want to hear political material, or do you want to hear about diarrhea? Blah, blah, blah. It sounds like a town hall meeting. Did somebody say it's the same thing when I said, do you want to hear about? Okay. All right, fine. Let me tell you something. You know what? I'm going to save the diarrhea for the end of this. I'm going to tell you that when I was first dating my wife, and I told her, I'm originally from Mississippi, and thank you, one person. We are less than an hour from Mississippi, and I get one woo. How dare you? So when I told my wife when we were dating that I was originally from Mississippi, she said, when I think of people from Mississippi, I picture them barefoot. And I said, well, thank you. But my family is actually civilized. They have jobs, they live indoors, they wear shoes. And I was down visiting Louisiana, Mississippi, seeing family, and she was flying in to meet all of my relatives. And we had maybe 10 or 12 of us piled into a van on the Gulf Coast to drive of Mississippi, to drive into New Orleans to spend the day, hang out in the French Quarter, walk around, eat, do whatever, kill time till she arrives. And hours later, I said, oh, Stephanie's gonna be landing any second. We gotta head over to the airport. And so we all pile back in the van. And as they do here, my family, put coolers of iced down cases of beer and wine just for the trip to the airport. And so I was driving like the nerd that I am, just sober as the day is long, get us to the airport, and I said, you know, she's at baggage claim, just stay put. I'm gonna go in and get her, and I will be right out. Just curbside, stay right here. I go in, I find her, and we head out, and I see her look, and she said, is that your family? They had all 12 of them gotten out of the van. They had pulled the coolers out onto the sidewalk. They were smoking and drinking and wildly waving, so excited to meet her. And they had taken their shoes off. After walking around the quarter all day, their feet were killing them. And I had to say, yes. That is my civilized family that you will be marrying into in 2 short years. We have 2 precious baby boys, and thank you. And it is really tiring to hear about other people's kids. But it is. But it's also more exhausting to have twins. And when they were about 3 weeks old, it was maybe 4 in the morning. We were so tired. Our eyes were rolling in the back of our heads, just exhausted. And Stephanie turned to me, and she's just so tired. She said, how do you have sex with a baby? And I said, you don't. And that was the beginning of a 10-minute-long misunderstanding. She said, what do you mean you don't have sex with a baby? It's like, what do you mean, what do you mean? What are we talking about? Who did I marry? And the best part of that joke, which is true, is that there's always people in the audience that are still left going, well, you don't have sex with a baby. What are we talking about? Now for the diarrhea. Oh, politics. Have any people here noticed at public pools the signs that say that you cannot go swimming if you have diarrhea? Clap if you have seen the signs. Okay. Here's the thing, I am on their side. I'm like, absolutely, you should not be swimming if you have diarrhea. My question is, how frequently was this happening? That they were like, you know what, we gotta put a sign up. But how confident of a person do you have to be like, oh man. I'm not feeling well. Doctor said I should definitely stay home. Stick near the toilet. But you know what? I'm gonna head down to the public pool. Go swim around. with full-blown diarrhea. And the lifeguard's like, hey, out of the pool. Me? Yeah. You can't swim with diarrhea. So this is a problem? Yeah, I gotta get out of the pool. Well, listen, if you don't want me swimming with diarrhea, then you're gonna need to hang up a sign. Because there is no possible way I would just know that. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Nina Turner.
Wow, unrig the system. This is extremely powerful that people like us are coming together and leaving the political affiliation at the door. Because this moment, our coming together, all of the workshops, all of the speakers that you have heard throughout this weekend is really about the building of a movement that will make history that is unparalleled, because you have people of good consciousness coming together to unrig a system that has failed far too many of us. And you know, it troubles me lots of times to see in this political environment that we would allow anybody to separate us based on political affiliation, based on race or class or gender or sexual orientation or religion. Because our mission in this moment, and I want you to leave here more inspired than you came, but to know that the change that we are seeking is up to us. As someone who comes from a mixed family, my brother is a conservative Republican. And we talk every single morning at 7:30 a.m. I guess that's what morning means. Because I'm trying to understand the mind of a conservative Republican. And my brother, although we disagree politically, if I was laid up in a hospital and needed a blood transfusion, my Republican brother would be there. If I needed a kidney, my Republican brother would be there. If I needed anything at all, he would be there. And so the purpose of Unrigged is not just for us to leave here entertained, but for us to leave here more determined to have the conversations, to do what is necessary, to do what Stephen Covey once said is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I've been thinking a lot about this from Martin Luther King Jr. Day, because really Black History Month starts on MLK Day, to now. And one of the things that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was able to do, him and his contemporaries, was to fight against a system. But Dr. King said this, and I want you to hold on to this. He said that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And he said hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And love is fierce. I want you to understand that love is fierce. Love is powerful. It is because of the love of this country that we are assembled here tonight together, regardless of political affiliation, to say that we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that we level the playing field, that everybody in this country should have equal speech and voice in a representative democracy. That is love. It is because of love that those of us who believe one way and those of us who believe another way, the fact that we are willing to stand up and give voice. And this is not about throwing away what you believe, but it is about not talking about folks, not tearing down folks. I believe that we should be hard on the issues and soft on people. How about that? And any elected official, any leader in the United States of America, whether it's the White House, the Congress, the governor's mansion, the city council, or the dog catcher who benefits from dividing us, they don't deserve our vote and they don't deserve our support. Because the only way that we rise is we rise together. There is no force on this earth that is more powerful than a committed, conscious-minded people willing to rise. And that is what Unrigged is about. It's not about Democrat. It's not about Republican. It is about a consciousness that says that I care, that I am my sister's and my brother's keeper. It is about a consciousness that decides that what happens to the least of these happens to all of us. And you know what, sisters and brothers, I will confess something. This is going to be a heavy mountain to surmount. And we are working for something that we hope and believe that we will see in our lifetime. But even if we never see it in our lifetime, the fact that we are fighting for it, that is what legacy building is all about. To leave the world, the space, the place better than how you found it. That it is not necessarily about how you benefit, but how generations yet unborn benefit. And in the moments when you are feeling like this just might not happen, I'm going to bring you word by 3 people before I leave this stage tonight. My first one is President Nelson Mandela when he said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." And I'm also feeling tonight a little Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. I want you to come with me on this. You know, I went to Austin, Texas, sisters and brothers. And when I got there and I got the baggage claim, this is magnificent statue of the Congresswoman, and I walked over there and I was communing with that statue. I know some folks thought a sister lost her mind, but I was feeling something. I was feeling all types of ways. But the Congresswoman, she said this. She said, what the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise. Where people all over this country from all walks of life, no matter if they're rural, urban, suburban, what they want is an America as good as its promise. The way we get that is to make sure that we unrig the system. And my last messenger is closer to home. My beloved grandmother, who was born in 1913, she could not read or write, but sisters, and this is for the sisters, she could count her money. And she kept her money in the Southern Ladies Bank and Trust with a handkerchief. If y'all don't know where that bank account is, you better ask somebody. When I asked my grandmother, what does it take to be successful in life? She said, my dear granddaughter, all you need are the 3 bones: the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying, because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do each and every day is because we hope and we believe that tomorrow will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth to power, to lift your voice, to not be silent, but to believe in the power and the purpose of your mission. Lift your voice. But the most important bone of them all, the supercalifragilistic expialidocious bone, is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep you standing through all of your trials and your tribulations. And in this life, sisters and brothers, we will go through some stuff, but we cannot have a testimony without a test. And we are being tested whether or not we have courage and conviction enough, and faith enough, and love enough, and dedication enough to do what we know is right in our time. We will, we must, we can unrig this system for ourselves and generations yet unborn, So they will shout us out and say that in the 21st century, in the early part of the 21st century, they did that. Who are the they? Republicans did that. Democrats did that. Green Party did that. Libertarians did that. No party did that. The American people did that. Can I get an amen? Amen and amen. Are you committed to unrigging the system? Are you committed to unrigging the system? We will do this in love, but we will do this. God bless you.
It has been such an honor to be here with you guys tonight. Here's to taking back our democracy and unrigging the system together. One more time, give it up for Preservation All-Stars, HoneyHoney and Ollie Blake to take us home.
When this life is over, I fly away to a home on God's distant shore. I said, I'll fly away. I'm telling you, I'll fly away. Oh, Lord, I'll fly away. Ooh, when I die, hallelujah, bye-bye. I said, I'll fly away. I'm telling you, I'll fly away. Oh, Lord, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, bye-bye. I said, I'll fly away. Good night, everybody. Thank you.